Gianluca Vialli, well remembered here. There are thousands of Chelsea fans in the stadium behind the goal to our right, and I think I could hear them singing the name of Gianluca Vialli, who won this competition, won the FA Cup as both a player in 1997 and as a manager of Chelsea in 2000. And so sad, gone far too early. So it is Manchester City against Gianluca Vialli's old club Chelsea. Referee Robert Jones just checking with the two goalkeepers, and we're ready for the start of this FA Cup third round tie. There's the whistle, and off we go. Chelsea getting us underway. The match will be beginning right now as well at Villa Park, where Aston Villa are playing Stevenage. We'll keep you fully updated on that. The World Service listeners joining us as well. Welcome to you, listeners on the BBC World Service. And we're here in Manchester at the Etihad Stadium watching Kyle Walker come forward for the home side, driving the ball across, and it's blocked away out of play by Koulibaly for a throw to Chelsea. Actually took a final touch off Riyad Mahrez, the man who scored the only goal when the sides met 4 days ago. Riyad Mahrez, who's actually scored in both of the matches this season when Manchester City have played and beaten Chelsea. So Mahrez starting this match. The Manchester City team: Ortega is in goal, Walker, Akanji, Laporte and Gomez. Aymeric Laporte returning after a back problem. Bernardo Silva and Rodri. Mahrez, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, and Julian Alvarez is starting. So Haaland and De Bruyne are only substitutes. So this is a first start for the World Cup winner Julian Alvarez, the number 19, through the middle for Manchester City. And Chelsea with Kepa in goal, Bashir Humphreys, the 19-year-old, making his first senior competitive appearance for Chelsea. Trevor Chalobah, Kalidou Koulibaly and Lewis Hall. In midfield, Jorginho with Conor Gallagher and Mateo Kovacic, and then Ziyech, Mason Mount fit to come back in, and Kai Havertz. And Chelsea coming forward. The ball played through into the penalty area for Alvarez. Good, confident early touch from him. Bernardo Silva now down the right-hand side. Bernardo Silva takes it on, but he is dispossessed by the debutant, Bashir Humphreys, who's able to take it and play it away. He'll feel a lot better about himself after that. He's actually playing as he is the left of the two central defenders. So Trevor Chalobah playing at right back, and Koulibaly and Humphreys as the two central defenders. Yep,
very, very interesting, John, that, because I was expecting Chalobah and Koulibaly to kind of steward Lewis Hall and Humphreys at full-back for Chelsea today, but seeing as he's more centrally based, he's obviously a good communicator, good leader. Very big night for the young boy.
Yeah, so that means that on the left side of Chelsea's back four, you've got the two teenagers. So, as I say, Humphreys at 19 and Lewis Hall at 18.
Well, you could say that they perhaps have operated at youth level through the Chelsea age groups together, being a similar sort of age. Breaking into the first team might just be more of a rapport and a relationship on that left-hand side between the two.
So that is Izzy Christiansen who is here with us. Izzy of Everton and England. Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds and the BBC World Service, and we're watching Manchester City in possession with Laporte, who plays it out towards the far side for Sergio Gomez, and it comes back into central defence. No John Stones today, who played so well, didn't he, the other night? But Stones and Grealish. I've not heard anything to suggest that there's an injury involved, so we are taking it until we hear differently from Pep Guardiola that they're just getting a rest today. And it is Manchester City who are coming forward with the ball over on the left-hand side. It's taken down into the full-back position, and then Gomez is over there, just taps it back. Laporte slips the ball to Foden inside the penalty area on the left-hand side. Jorginho is out there. He has the cross from over on the left flank from Palmer, bounces back to him, gets it down, gives it back to Laporte, and now again Gomez on the left-hand side, but Chelsea are able to win back possession. And here is Humphreys, just touches it back to Kepa inside the 6-yard box, who was being chased down by Alvarez. Had to get rid of that quickly, Kepa, but he did. Sure touch with his feet, and was able to play it out to Lewis Hall. So there's no danger, no worries.
Yep, all under control. Really impressed with Lewis Hall back here in November when Chelsea played against City in the League Cup. He was one of the best players on the park for both teams, and he looks really comfortable filling in for Chelsea at left back.
Yeah, I thought he did well when he came on, didn't he, the other evening? I mean, he did have the big chance, didn't he, to perhaps score the goal that would have levelled things up, and wasn't able to take it. But, you know, let's not forget the fact that this is only his 5th appearance for the Chelsea first team. But when I've seen him, he has got a certain confidence about him, but that's given away by Koulibaly. Cole Palmer, though, can't take it on for Manchester City, and Chelsea are able to play it forward. Gallagher then into the middle to Ziyech, but Ziyech's ball, looking for Havertz, was tidied up nicely by Akanji.
Yeah, it's excellent from Conor Gallagher operating in that midfield role. I've actually noticed that Chelsea have almost started as a 4-2-2-2 formation. You've got Mount and Gallagher operating and dealing with City's fullbacks, but staying narrow just to stifle that space for City.
Yeah, I wondered whether Palmer would have been the man in the middle and Foden on the left-hand side. But in fact, Palmer's over towards the left-hand side and Foden more central.
Yeah, I expected a little bit of fluidity between the front three, between Mahrez, Foden and Cole Palmer. But Foden's played that false 9 role so often. He's fully capable.
Yeah, and Phil Foden, who has not always been in the Manchester City starting lineup, pre-World Cup, post-World Cup, started only 2 of the last 6 matches in all competitions. But as I say, playing in this sort of tucked-in role towards the left central midfield, Phil Foden, with Bernardo Silva quite well advanced as well, Mahrez on the right-hand side, and then obviously Alvarez through the middle. So Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0, still Aston Villa 0, Stevenage 0. We know, just in case you've just switched on, the FA Cup 4th round draw has already taken place. I hope it didn't catch you out, but we know that the winners of this one will play the winners of tomorrow night's commentary, Oxford United against Arsenal. So Manchester City against Chelsea, versus either Manchester City or Chelsea playing Oxford United or Arsenal in the 4th round, as Sergio Gomez puts in a challenge in centre of field, and he's caught young Humphreys actually. The two of them just coming together there, and in fact it's Chalobah who's down. It's Chalobah who's down and taken quite a knock in that, and I think he's going to be okay. And it is a free kick that has been given by Robert Jones. So a free kick to Chelsea that Gallagher will play back into his own half to Koulibaly. Koulibaly to the right to Humphreys, and now here is Chalobah on the right-hand side. Seems okay, shaken off however serious that knock was, and then the ball is played back by Humphreys, very confident there, just standing, putting his foot on the ball, having a look up, and going back to goalkeeper Kepa. Long ball from him downfield. Havertz with a touch, but that touch took it into the path of Laporte, who was able to pass it back to the goalkeeper, is it?
Yep, just watching the way that both teams set up and looking at where they're going to add spaces and make numerical overloads on sides of the pitch, and that's where you've got Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden dropping into spaces off the front line, just to see what they can do to the Chelsea defence. But so far so good for Chelsea in terms of pressing. They've been really sharp.
Yeah, Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. Rodri was just caught there, and actually there wasn't much in that from Havertz. Rodri was looking to intercept the ball, pass it back to his goalkeeper Ortega, and it looks as though Havertz has just caught him, maybe quite painfully. I don't know, well, it is, we're just saying it again now, on the toe end, maybe his little toe.
Yeah, it's his standing foot, high pressure from Chelsea, and Havertz going in really tight there on Rodri. Just catches his standing leg, and Rodri doesn't look too comfortable.
No, he does not. So a little bit of a concern for Pep Guardiola. The medical people haven't come on, so I think he must be confident he's going to be able to continue. Pep Guardiola is just walking away out of the coaching area, and now he's saying to Kyle Walker, come over here, beckoning him over. He wants to have a word with him. I think it's something tactical he wants to talk to him about. Rodri's okay. Pep Guardiola actually takes a couple of steps onto the pitch to talk with Walker. Quite urgent instructions, and there we are, delivered.
That's how it is.
That is how it
players
is.
Know exactly what they mean.
Yeah. So Walker, and actually I think more words were just given there from Guardiola to Kyle Walker, and he just nodded his head and looked over his shoulder. So Rodri's okay, back up and fully functioning. Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. We've had best part of 10 minutes of this FA Cup 3rd round tie. Neither goalkeeper has had to make a save yet. Stefan Ortega coming in to start again. This is his 5th appearance for Manchester City, signed from Germany, from Arminia Bielefeld. during the course of last summer. So he yet to be tested. And Manchester City in the sky blue shirts, white shorts and sky blue socks. They're playing from left to right. And City being put under pressure by Chelsea, but Rodri is able to step in, and Manchester City go back into central defence to Laporte, who goes for the big left-footed pass, which he does, and that's what Guardiola wants to see. He raises his arms there. Walker received it, then plays it forward to Mahrez. Hall on the chase for Chelsea. Mahrez has passed him, and now he's into the penalty area, catches the ball next to the byline, pulls it across, but Kepa was able to leap forward and hold it as well, down near the edge of the 6-yard box.
Yeah, Pep Guardiola giving the thumbs up to his team there, that switch of play, because Chelsea are going so narrow centrally and letting City exploit the wide areas. That's where it's vulnerable. Lewis Hall, he's got to win that tackle. Mahrez was through, and it was comfortable by Kepa in the end, but big threat for City. Yeah,
that's what he wanted, Guardiola, that pass from Laporte, cross field. You know, we see it all the time, don't we? At pace for Walker, and Guardiola standing there on the edge of the area, actually punched the air with both fists, didn't he? It was a sort of, by George, they've got it moment from Pep Guardiola.
It doesn't take a genius to work out that the space for City is on this right hand side with Kyle Walker.
Yes, I think that was Rex Harrison in My Fair Lady, wasn't it? Do you remember that one? Izzy, have you ever seen that one?
No, sorry,
no,
John.
No, right, well, anyway, it is a throw into Manchester City 10 yards inside the Chelsea half. Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. Let's see how things have started at Villa Park, shall we, with Pat Murphy?
It's Villa 0, Stevenage 0. Stevenage not overawed. They're playing with composure, and Villa will obviously try to catch them early, but they're standing firm, roared on by their 3,000 travelling supporters. Villa 0, Stevenage 0, and John, it was one of the great musicals, as you well know.
It is, absolutely. So there you are, Izzy, that's your homework tonight.
Every time I come on,
Rex Harrison.
It's a school day.
Yeah, My Fair Lady. The 3 o'clock game in the Premiership today in the Rugby Union, Harlequins against Sale. Adam Whitty.
Sale have sewn up victory with a bonus point, securing try in the final 15. Second row Cobus Visa scored to make it 24-11, which along with a try from hooker Aka van der Merwe has seen off a brief Harlequins fight back with a Joe Martin interception try. Quins 11, Sale 24, 11 minutes to go.
And actually 2 kickoffs at 3 o'clock, but Manchester City coming forward, ball into the middle, it's flicked forward, Alvarez is in there, it's rattling around inside the box, and an overhead kick actually goes wide from Foden, but I think the whistle had already gone, is it?
Yeah, it was like pinball inside the almost a 6-yard area for City. It was an excellent overhead kick in the end from Foden, but Kepa had let that go past the post because he knew that the referee had already blown the whistle. But good play down this left hand side from Sergio Gomez, cuts it back, ball's just sort of shaking around in the box, and it was Foden, but good chance for City though. Yeah,
it wouldn't have counted if it had ended up in the back of the net. Yes, in the other 3 o'clock game in the Premiership, last I saw it was London Irish 20, Bristol 7, and also Glasgow 17, Stormers 12 was the latest in the United Rugby Championship. So Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. Already been a busy day in the FA Cup. I hope you enjoyed our Cardiff City against Leeds United commentary, the 2-2 draw. Cardiff leading by 2-0. And on the Welsh theme, Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, at least from Robbie's point of view, will be on with 606, the 5 Live phone-in, once we are finished here with this tie. And the attendance today, 51,505 for this match, and there are 6,000 Chelsea fans or thereabouts. So again, well done them on this difficult weekend and few days with public transport issues. Here's Laporte playing the ball over to the left-hand side. So great support for Chelsea. In the end, to our right, behind Kepa's goal. And so far, so good for Chelsea. They, I think they feared the worst, their supporters, ahead of the Premier League meeting on Thursday night. And yes, they lost it. But if they could get something here, if Chelsea could pull something out of the bag, then that would be big for Graham Potter.
Yeah, I think it's what's required and what they need, players and manager. So far they're looking pretty strong, filling space as well defensively, denying City the opportunity to play through them centrally, forcing them wide. It's just when they get into those wide areas, they've got to stand up and not allow 1v1 battles to be lost. Crosses into the box, you see it so often with City. They're such a threat. They pick players out, pinpoint accuracy, and they can hurt you.
Manchester City in possession. They've They spent most of the time, it feels like the greater concentration has been down the left-hand side so far in this game. Chalobah playing as the right back. Just wonder pre-match whether they maybe thought, like us, that Humphreys, the new man, would be at right back. Instead, he's in central defence. However, that's been the focus of the Manchester City attack.
Yeah, I think what they're doing, John, is they're actually playing down the left to suck Chelsea right over and then bring it back the other way to Kyle Walker and expose him, try and get him higher, but it's not really working yet. I think players like in the midfield for Chelsea, Gallagher, Kovacic, who both work rate is really high. And it's quite difficult. Yes,
and Mahrez has already had one success against young Lewis Hall, the left back, in place of Cucurella. And here is Hall now, fair-haired, always looks forward, yellow boots, brings the ball on, but he's challenged, tackled by Bernardo Silva, and it's out of play for a throw-in to Chelsea. Lewis Hall, the younger brother of Connor Hall of Chorley, who I noticed scored a couple of goals again yesterday, as Hall, the younger Hall, Lewis Hall, steps in, wins the ball back for Chelsea inside their own half. Ziyech is involved.
Super.
Ziyech, early ball, that's nice to Mount. Mason Mount against his England colleague Walker was forced to check back, and then suddenly he was surrounded by sky blue shirts, and Bernardo Silva took it away from him.
Super play from Chelsea, 1-2 touch, fast, sharp, exactly what the manager will be wanting, playing out of City's high pressure. And eventually Mason Mount just turned back into Bernardo Silva, who was recovering. But I tell you what was excellent about that as well, the counter press from Lewis Hall, just stopping City in that moment when they're such a threat.
Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0 here on the BBC on 5 Live and Sounds and the World Service. City taking the throw up towards Mahrez, got black gloves on tonight, as Mahrez does well, plays it into the path of Palmer on the left-hand side. Palmer at pace into the Chelsea box, then just lays it off to his left for Gomez to try and centre the ball, but it was blocked at source, and Chelsea were able to clear through Chalobah. Comes back at them though. Again, Palmer passes it straight into Chalobah, and so Manchester City have to start again from nearer the halfway line. Graham Potter down there, they've almost got matching coats on, haven't they? They're black padded, hooded coats, the two managers. And Ortega, like you, Izzy, as
just
well.
Like mine, yeah.
They're all over the game at the moment, aren't they? And here is that pass, that left-footed pass from Laporte to Walker. Not so much pace on it this time though, so Walker has to pull it down, and then Kovacic was able to come across and close him down. Just over a quarter of an hour played. Still 0-0 here, 0-0 at Villa Park as well. Chalobah stretching for it and popping the ball out of play for a throw into Chelsea down the left. Chalobah returning to the starting lineup for this match. Remember, he had a long run in the team pre-World Cup, but it is now Glasgow 24, Stormers 17 in that match in the United Rugby Championship. And Jorginho playing the ball away from the back, but then there's a misplaced return pass from Ziyech to him. That's out of play for a Chelsea throw. Not sure what the future holds for Jorginho either, incidentally, who's out of contract at the end of this season. And there has been reported that there might be a possibility of him returning to one of his old clubs, Napoli, at the end of the season, but we will see. You never know with that sort of thing. In January, that can be all part of the bargaining process, can't it?
You don't know.
You do not. Here is Akanji. Akanji up to the halfway line, gives it square to Laporte. And now out to the left-hand side, Ruben Dias still on the injured list, but Laporte is back. And Manchester City have to go all the way back into their own half.
I tell you who's got some patience, John. Alvarez. He's on the bench normally behind Haaland, and I haven't actually seen him touch the ball more than once yet in this game. He just stays away, he pulls defenders out. He's such an unselfish player, but then he bursts into life.
Yeah, and it's only
very quiet.
Yeah, only his 9th start for Chelsea, for Manchester City, but then when you've got to displace Erling Haaland as the ball's played over the top, Palmer's into the penalty area and slips the ball wide of Kepa, but into the outside of the side netting, and the goalkeeper has got something on that to deflect it wide. It's a corner.
Yeah, should have squared it. My initial reaction, why are you not squaring that to the boy Alvarez we're just speaking about? Excellent run from Palmer in behind. He's got him 1v1 v Kepa, and he's got Alvarez just for it's gone through his legs. It's a good save from Kepa, but he just needs to square that to Alvarez for a tap in. He's committed the goalkeeper as Palmer. It's gone out for a Chelsea corner, but if I'm Alvarez there,
Corner's taken short, played across, Palmer's underneath the shot, but got right underneath it and sent it ballooning up and high and over the top of the crossbar and behind for a goal kick. That could have gone in. I say he got a touch on that goalkeeper Kepa, which he did, but as you said, it went through his legs and could easily have deflected the other way and into the net.
Yeah, Cole Palmer had committed Kepa. If he just squares it, he rolls it into the path of Alvarez, he's got an empty net to pass the ball into.
More from Villa Park. Pat Murphy.
It's still Villa 0, Stevenage 0, but Stevenage thought they'd gone ahead. It was a narrow VAR decision that favoured Villa. Good pass from Norris across the face of the goal, and there was Danny Rose to score with aplomb, but VAR intervened after a wait of 2 minutes. Villa got away with it. That should wake them up, and Stevenage could feel hard done by, particularly Danny Rose. He's furious. It's still, though, Villa 0, Stevenage 0.
And whoever wins there will be away to Stoke City in the 4th round. I think the headlines from the draw, other than Manchester City or Chelsea against Oxford United or Arsenal, I would say Walsall, Leicester, certainly Preston against Tottenham, Wrexham against Sheffield United. We'll run through it in full again, I'm sure, at half-time, as the ball is played over the top for Ziyech to chase, but he won't get there. Actually, he was being challenged there by Gomez, Sergio Gomez. I mean, it was bouncing through to Ortega all of the time, and Ziyech looked as though he was caught by Gomez.
He was, yep.
And went sprawling into the penalty area.
Yep. Interesting one, because Ortega, it's bounced into the path of Ortega. The Chelsea have gone with the ball over the top. Ziyech is in a foot race with Gomez. Gomez has tripped him very late on, but I think the ball was already in the hands of Ortega, so it was an off the ball foul. But he's got a point, Ziyech.
Yeah, definitely had a point. Here's Gallagher for Chelsea into the path of Havertz, but Havertz's touch took it forward and through to Ortega, who was quickly out and was able to gather it well. Chelsea haven't scored against Manchester City since Havertz's goal in Porto in the Champions League final against Manchester City. Since then, City have won all 4 matches against Chelsea in the competitions, various competitions, and Chelsea have failed to score. 0-0 so far here in the FA Cup 3rd round. The latest on Dundee United Rangers comes from Gavin Wallace.
0-0 at the moment here at Tannadice, John, half-time. Not really much happening. Dundee United looking really well organised for the money. Rangers, though, looking sloppy going forward and have been really, really restricted. The best chance, though, 4 before the break ended up on a counter-attack. Liam Smith ran the length of the park, but he skewed his shot wide. 0-0 at Tannadice.
Alvarez attacking for Manchester City to the edge of the area, plays it square to Mahrez, who is fouled. Hall with a challenge on Mahrez and a free kick to Manchester City in a good position between 25 and 30 yards out, closer to 25 I would say.
Yeah, this is in left-footed region. Riyad Mahrez perhaps, Bernardo Silva with something clever, but yeah, I think it's just about in position to have a shot.
Mahrez likes this, is he, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's holding the ball. Definitely a foul. Lewis Hall was complaining to the referee, but Mahrez uses his body so well to protect the ball, knows that the recovering defender's got to hit him and he'll take the foul. But good break by City.
So Dundee United 0, Rangers 0 earlier. Motherwell 2, Hibs 3, which featured a hat-trick by Kevin Nisbet for Hibs. Free kick then for Manchester City. Right of centre, as Izzy Christiansen has said. This is nicely on the Mahrez left foot, but Bernardo Silva is there as well. However, very often it's the person who plants the ball, and Mahrez did that, and actually Bernardo Silva moves away, so it's a 3-man wall. Mahrez with the free kick, looks good. Oh, it's better than good, it's superb, and it's into the top right corner, and Manchester City lead. And Riyad Mahrez has now scored in all 3 matches this season for Manchester City against Chelsea. City 1, Chelsea 0.
That was absolutely outstanding, John. The way he's just wrapped his foot around that and it's just swerved away from Kepa. There's too much pace on the ball for the goalkeeper to have any chance of saving that. But the way it just glides into the top corner, I bet he hits them like that all day. And it actually takes a deflection, John. That's what takes it away from Kepa. It hits the head. Is it Chalobah in the wall?
Just a little glance, wasn't it? But that was so
key.
Significant.
That was key, because that's the bit which is taking it away from Kepa. But nonetheless, the strike's fantastic by Mahrez.
So there we are, Manchester City, Chelsea. It's Mahrez again. Scored in the 2-0 win here in the Carabao Cup before Christmas. Scored the only goal in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge when Jack Grealish put it on a plate for him. But for this one, he had to be at his very best, didn't he? And that was a terrific free kick. I mean, it needed that little glance off the top of the wall, which took it up into the right of the top corner, kept a dive into his left, couldn't get there. And Chelsea have got to do it the hard way if they're going to do it, Izzy.
Yeah, and they're still in this game. They need to. It's a really key period for Chelsea now. Really key. Get back to the way they were playing, because I thought they were brilliant.
Full time, London Irish 23, Bristol 7. So 23-7, the final score in that other 3 o'clock kickoff in the Premiership. And Manchester City in front. So that's 2-2 for Riyad Mahrez, 7 now for the season. And I suppose it was always likely to happen, wasn't it? Mahrez having not started on Thursday night and scored the only goal that he would come in, but Pep Guardiola, after his substitutions, did the trick the other night. You know, all of the substitutions, the ones he made at half-time, and then the Grealish-Mahrez substitutions during the game that brought the goal almost instantly. Looks like another good decision from him. Yeah,
he normally gets it right, doesn't he?
Normally,
in the front area especially. But that, we were saying off air, that was not a City team in that first half against Chelsea on Thursday night, was it?
No, it was disappointing, and he knew it. But here they've got the first half goal, and that is how it stands with 25 minutes on the clock. Akanji playing it to Walker on the right-hand side, and then City through the goal scorer Mahrez, infield towards Bernardo Silva, does well. Then Kyle Walker back to Mahrez, and Mahrez just plays the ball infield and hits it with a swagger, left-footed onto the chest of Gomez over on that far side. Then Palmer is challenged and the ball's out of play for a throw into Manchester City, level with the edge of the Chelsea box. And Harlequin's Sale is all over with you, Adam Whitty.
Yeah, second place Sale have won by 24 points to 16 to go 12 points clear of third. A bonus point win full of physicality and skill. Quins don't look out of form. Sale and Saracen seemingly out of sight for the top two, but with London Irish's 23-7 win at Bristol, there are 7 points separating the next 8 teams fighting for the final 2 playoff spots. Full time at the Stoop, Harlequin 16, Sale 24.
And the final score in the United Rugby Championship, Glasgow 24, Stormers 17. Corner to Manchester City, who lead by 1-0 here. Corner from the left-hand side. It's an outswinger. Laporte was after it. It's rattling around inside the box. Shot was blocked. Mahrez, now outside the area, is able to play it back to Walker. And City are still putting big pressure on Chelsea here, who've got everyone back. 1-0 down. They don't want it to get any worse than this. Rodri back to Mahrez. Mahrez strokes it infield. There's a touch from Gomez back to Walker near the halfway line. Here's Rodri, who returns it to his captain today, Kyle Walker. Gundogan's on the bench as well, incidentally. And then Rodri just flicks it with his left foot back into the centre circle where Gomez will just draw a couple of Chelsea players, Havertz and Ziyech, and then Walker hits it long, and it's into Alvarez inside the penalty area, who was under pressure from Koulibaly, taking it to the byline and was forced to overrun it through for a goal kick. Izzy Christensen.
Yeah, good spell of possession for City after that corner. They've kept the ball, kept moving Chelsea, played it long into Alvarez because the space was in behind. Really good defending by Koulibaly, who's just marshalled him out.
There's a check going on for a possible penalty.
Really?
Yeah, VAR check has just appeared on the screen, and so now let's see what the situation is. And actually, Robert Jones has already been called across to the monitor, and we know what that means. And oh well, it's going to be a penalty. I've just seen it. Kai Havertz, who was being challenged there. You know, this was from the corner. Laporte was after it, and Kai Havertz's arm is right out in front of him, and to his left. It's hit his gloved hand, and it's a penalty. It's a penalty for Manchester City and a chance to double their lead.
Yep, without a doubt, blatant penalty. Contrast to last night, not with the penalties but the VAR decisions. But yeah, good use of it. It's Havertz just couldn't quite win the header against Laporte, so he stuck his arm out, hoping that no one would see it, but they have. It looks like Alvarez has taken a spot kick, and Kepa and Alvarez are having a dialogue down there. You can see on camera, they're just going...
That is actually quite amusing.
They're actually having a laugh with each other, aren't they?
They are actually. Kepa is standing right in front of the ball with his hands on his knees, and Alvarez has just not been bothered about it at all. He hasn't stayed away. He's thought, I'm going to go and put the ball on the spot here, which he has, and as he leaned over, the two of them were almost head to head. Kepa was speaking to him, and Alvarez just laughed at him, shrugged that off. Let's see what he does with the taking of the penalty. The World Cup winner. Oh, nearly saved, but not quite. He got a hand to it under the post, but the ball's in the net, and Alvarez scores, and Manchester City lead by 2-0.
That was so close from Kepa into saving that. He's guessed the right way. Alvarez has gone to the keeper's right, his bottom left, and Kepa's got a hand to it onto the post, and you can just see it's a matter of inches, John. It's actually come back off the post and nestled into the back of the net. Yeah, it's so close. Kepa will be really disappointed with that. Not much more he could have done.
Yeah, with his penalty saving record, which we know is so very good, to get a hand to it like that, and then it but not enough, and it clipped the post, and it's Manchester City 2, Chelsea 0, and Graham Potter, I'm looking down at him now, just turns away and walks back to his seat, and it looks as though, well, if they get out of this, Chelsea, well done.
Yeah, we're talking about fine details, and I'm sure goalkeeper Karen Bardsley, or ex-goalkeeper, like we say, who did the draw earlier in the FA Cup, will perhaps disagree with me, but his hand position, as he's saving that penalty, Kepa's, is going downwards, and that's what pushes the ball into the back of the net off the post.
So VAR, a crucial intervention from VAR, and I know that people are unhappy about the lack of consistency in the FA Cup, that there is VAR on certain grounds, Premier League grounds. When I was at Hillsborough yesterday, there was no VAR, and there was no goal line technology yesterday at that match, and actually it was proven later, 2 of the goals that were scored would have been ruled offside by VAR. However, the decision is, if it's available and it's there, I suppose the argument is to get as many decisions right as you can.
Personally don't agree with that system. I think it's got to be at every ground in a competition or not.
Level playing field.
Yep.
And whatever people say about VAR, that was the right decision, and without it Manchester City would not have had a penalty. Here is Gallagher for Chelsea. Chelsea have got to raise themselves now. I mean, what is the approach now for Chelsea, is he?
Well, do you know what? Up until the 2 goals, I've been quite impressed with them. They've moved the ball well, they've looked tight, they've looked tidy, they've looked better, and they've had more bite about them than they've had in recent weeks. I watched them against Nottingham Forest, and just down the spine of the team, there was no aggression.
So disappointing, wasn't it? I was there this time last week.
Yeah, so I've seen an improvement, but you know what I mean? There's a performance improvement, but there's also getting results. You've got to throw the kitchen sink at this. It's an FA Cup game, anything can happen.
Then City playing it out from the back. Laporte had to really stretch for that and was almost dispossessed by Ziyech, but not quite. He was able to get a touch. Here's Kovacic. He's been quiet in the game so far, unlike the other night at Stamford Bridge, and then loses it. Actually overran it, and the ball just rolled into the path of Akanji, who has played it forward. Foden now, Palmer on the left-hand side. Manchester City here. It has the look of City sniffing Chelsea blood, and if they're able to get another one now, well, that would be it. Surely the cup tie would be over, even though we're nowhere near half-time yet. But Chelsea have been able to get it back over there on the far side, and the ball is played back into central defence to Humphreys, back out to Chalobah. Back it goes to the teenager. And there's been an opening goal now at Villa Park with you, Pat Murphy.
It's gone to Aston Villa, and it's gone to Morgan Sansom. Composed, build up, a little bit ponderous, but the key flick from Danny Ings, linking well. Right foot shot by Sansom across the keeper, 15 yards. It'd be wrong to say that Villa deserve it, but they lead Stevenage 1-0.
And commentary on that continues on Sports Extra, incidentally, so we do have a choice of listening. The Villa-Stevenage match on Sports Extra, on your digital radio or via BBC Sounds. And Manchester City 2, Chelsea 0 is here on 5 Live and the World Service. And we're talking, Izzy, about the possibility and what Chelsea need to do to get back into this. But the other side of that is that at 2-0 up with just over half an hour played, there is also the potential here for this actually to turn quite ugly for Chelsea.
Which is complete contrast to the other day on Thursday night.
Rodri playing the ball out to the right-hand side to Walker. Walker has a look infield here as the pass to the edge of the area. Foden with a flick in towards Alvarez. Comes back to Foden, who stabs a foot at it, but just volleyed it up and into the air, and that was an easy take for Kepa.
It needs to be better in the final third, Chelsea. Havertz getting on the half-turn, Mount linking up. They've been linking up quite well, but then the final pass has just been poor. It's lacking that edge. A couple of moments earlier, Havertz tries to switch it to Lewis Hall and just undersells the pass, and Kyle Walker intercepts it. Little bits like that. You don't need things to be going against you for those not to work, if that makes sense. It's just simple basics. Put more on the pass.
Kovacic is caught in possession. Manchester City have got it back. Rodri plays it square into the area. Alvarez with a shot, but actually Koulibaly dived in with a challenge and I think got something on that which took the pace off it, and Kepa was able to save quite comfortably to his right.
That's exactly it, John. Gaps are opening up now for City to start, like you said, smelling blood.
Now Kovacic has been caught in possession, and then Koulibaly on Bernardo Silva just outside the area, says referee Jones. It's a free kick, not a second penalty.
Koulibaly knows he goes to ground far too easily. Bernardo's just glided past him with his first touch. So good at that, drawing the tackle. He's gone past Kovacic, he's taken Koulibaly. Koulibaly's just gone down far too early, and actually Bernardo's gone down just outside the box. It could have been in the penalty area, that, but Mahrez on it with his left foot.
Yeah, he's made a decision today, Graham Potter. As you know, Thiago Silva is 38. 38, it has to follow. You can't start every match.
No.
So he's been left out today, and Chelsea are struggling. And it is a free kick. Now, this is near the right corner of the penalty area, but it's just a matter of inches, centimetres if you prefer, just outside the box. But the angle is quite sharp. We're right behind the line of the ball, but it's Mahrez who's already scored one free kick. Mahrez comes up, drives it goalwards, but Kepa got a good view on that. There was no deflection off the top of the wall this time, and just took a couple of little dainty steps to his left, the Chelsea goalkeeper, and got both hands to it and pushed it over the top of the bar. Yeah,
strikes it well again, Mahrez, but just straight at Kepa. But Kepa's been safe. I don't think he could have caught that, no doubt, but another corner.
Another corner, this from the right for City. I mean, alarm bells are gently ringing here for Chelsea. Just feels as though they're hanging on a little, and every time Manchester City come forward, it feels like the threat of the potential third goal is there. Mahrez with a corner this time, but Kepa comes and makes a good catch actually outside the 6-yard box. That was confident, positive goalkeeping from the Spaniard, who overarms it out. Kovacic, who's lost the ball twice in recent times. Well, was given a shove there by Mahrez, but no free kick.
Yeah, it's a foul for me. Kovacic has broken. Kepa's just throwing it into the path of Kovacic. Mahrez is doing his tracking back. He's just nudged Kovacic in the back and stopped that Chelsea counter. Good gamesmanship from Mahrez, but the referee has to see that.
So 2-0 Manchester City lead, and actually it is it's the Carabao Cup tie all over again. They won that 2-0 here in November, Manchester City against Chelsea, and the goal scorers that day were Mahrez and Alvarez, and that is the case here today. But the penalty for Alvarez this time. Oh, lovely change of feet from Kyle Walker. That was sparkling stuff from the right back. Gives it to the left back, Gomez, and then Gomez return pass from Rodri was slightly behind him, but Gomez does well there. That was extremely industrious from him. Rodri with a pass high out towards the right hand side. Mahrez brings that down brilliantly. He's so good at that, and then slips it to Walker, whose ball across is turned in. It's 3-0 before half time, and Foden's joined the scoring list. 3-0 Manchester City lead, and this could become ugly for Graham Potter and Chelsea here in the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's super for Manchester City. Carved them open, switched the ball one side to the other. Kyle Walker's initial bit of skill, switch of play with the outside of his foot, switch it over to the left. It then gets worked through Cole Palmer and Rodri back out to the right. And just the third man run from Kyle Walker into the space. Mahrez just rolls it into his path. The most perfect weight of pass you'll ever see. And then Kyle Walker just cuts it back for Foden for a tap-in. The most perfect Manchester City goal, you could say. Just this weight of pass from Mahrez, cut back, Foden into the bottom corner. Chelsea's defence absolutely all over the place. Super goal.
They're being run ragged now, Chelsea. Kyle Walker, positive play from Walker. He started that move, didn't he, with the that little change of feet on the halfway line. That'll be in the Kyle Walker show reel, that goal.
Yeah, that'll be on his Instagram later.
That's the word I was looking for, yes.
You're not on Instagram, John.
actually no, Izzy, I'm not on Instagram. I need to get somebody to run that account for me. The ball bounces behind for a goal kick to Chelsea. So it is Manchester City 3, Chelsea 0. But Walker started the move on the halfway line. City moved it to the left, moved it back to the right. There was a lovely piece of control from Mahrez in the middle of that when he took the ball down. Walker then into the penalty area, pulled it back from the right, and Foden was there to do the rest and score what is his 9th goal of the season for Manchester City in the middle.
I think if Pep Guardiola has a scrapbook or a coaching manual or something of how he sees the perfect goal, that's it. That's exactly it come to life.
Well, beautiful, as he described the FA Cup in the match programme today. And Chelsea now coming forward with Chalobah pushing forward from the right back position that he's playing in. Took it to the byline, but City were back in numbers, and Manchester City have been able to clear. 3-0. Hall moving the ball infield. That's lovely from him. Mazy run goes past Rodri, almost like he wasn't there. And then Foden as well. Hall is able to find Chalobah. And Chelsea now, well, I suppose it's an FA Cup tie. They've just got to go for it.
Absolutely.
Ziyech on the right hand side. There's no point sitting back against Manchester City, because the evidence that we've seen here today, that's only going to lead to one thing, and that is more goals for Manchester City.
Yep. Just got to keep playing, Chelsea. Keep finding space. Keep working on what the manager's asked you to do. But yeah, this does not look good for them.
It does not. 3-0 City lead. Mahrez, Alvarez with the penalty, and then Phil Foden. Back to Villa Park, Pat Murphy.
Still lead 1-0 through Morgan Sanson's first goal for the club, but they're not done yet, Stevenage. Norris, who's leading the line bravely, just clipped the top of the bar with a swerving shot from 25 yards out. They're competing hard, Stevenage. Villa 1, Stevenage 0.
And the second half underway at Tannadice in the Premiership. Gavin Wallace.
Goal.
Gavin, tell us.
Yes, Sakala.
Go on, Gavin, give us the news. Sakala, how did he score it?
It was that great goal, actually. He's just scored it just now down this left-hand side. John, Rangers have really upped the tempo. Alfredo Morelos has come on at half-time as well. Sakala burst into the box on the left-hand side and put his laces through it. Birighitti had absolutely no chance. Rangers now starting to close that gap on Celtic. Dundee United 0, Rangers 1.
Thank you, Gavin. Chelsea with the ball near the edge of the Manchester City box. He actually has got it back, but he is adjudged to have committed a foul in the winning back of the ball on Laporte, who is lying on the pitch with his hands on his face, and it's a free kick to Manchester City. Izzy Christiansen.
If a spell of possession for Chelsea could prove any more that they need a number 9, that's just it. Just 2 opportunities, I think both Mason Mount, to just cross the ball. They'd broken the City press, broken down the right hand side, and I'm looking at a player of Mason Mount's quality to deliver the ball, and he's looked up and there's nobody in the box. Just the types of players that Chelsea have got in abundance is players that want to come towards the ball, come and play, come and link up, but they haven't got that outlet. And I'm going to be really ruthless here. They need more from Ziyech and Havertz, because they're just throwing their legs at things and not using their body well enough. Chelsea need their strikers, or whoever's playing in that role today in Ziyech and Havertz, to pin the ball and hold it up and give Chelsea's midfield a chance to get up to play, because at the moment it's just becoming transitional, and that's exactly what City want.
Talking about Kyle Walker's involvement in that last goal, here's one from our friend Dave O'Brien, Statman Dave, who says that is Kyle Walker's first assist against Chelsea in his 26th appearance against them. Quite niche, that one, but well done, Statman. Here's Manchester City with it on the left-hand side, into Foden inside the box. Foden, Chelsea players either side of him, and they've been able to smuggle it away from Phil Foden and clear it, but they haven't cleared the penalty area. And actually a high foot in there from Jorginho, who's stretching for it. He had to make that in the area, but he did, and he was able to clear it. So City start again nearer the halfway line. So Chelsea, it would seem, maybe they'll prove us wrong. Maybe they'll turn this around in spectacular fashion, but the odds are massively stacked against Chelsea now here, and it looks as though after losing in the final 3 years running No team's ever done that before. First time any team has lost in 3 consecutive FA Cup finals. But it looks like a third round exit for Graham Potter's side here at the home of the Premier League champions. Manchester City going back to the edge of their box, and Kyle Walker, you should almost get a double assist, Walker, for that goal.
Yeah.
Having been involved crucially twice in the move. Here is Rodri, who moves away from Gallagher, and then Bernardo Silva has to pass it forward, and actually Koulibaly steps in. Chelsea needs something. They certainly need a goal before half-time. However, the ball's bounced away downfield for City, and it's Alvarez onto this. Alvarez up against the debutant Humphreys, plays it to the left to Palmer. Palmer into the area, little ball from Heave. Mahrez pulls it right across the 6-yard box, and Alvarez in there, diving feet first, couldn't get a touch. And the ball is out with Hall on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it was so easy from City. Overlapping run from Mahrez. Cole Palmer feeds him, squares it to Alvarez.
More trouble. Chelsea trying to play it out from the back. And Jorginho looking to hit a speedy pass back to Kovacic. Misplaces it and passes it straight behind for a corner.
Yeah, more pressure. Just wasn't looking, was he, Jorginho? That's the thing that City make you do, though. They press with such intensity. Even when you've got time, you scan around, look at the spaces, they're still on you.
Corner taken short by Manchester City. Foden clips it in, but actually that was an easy one for Kepa to catch. And actually, looking across, what have we had now? That we've had the 45 minutes, so we're into that 2 minutes of added time. Looking at it over the piece from Chelsea, this has been limp.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't for 15-20 minutes to start the game, but as soon as they conceded, they capitulated.
Yeah, and they've looked porous, they've looked vulnerable. Manchester City, it's there for the taking for Manchester City. It depends how ruthless they want to be. And let me have a look. What's their track record in ruthlessness like, Manchester City?
Quite high, especially when you've got
high.
Fellas down there on the bench, surnames like De Bruyne and Haaland.
Bring on Haaland.
Be the worst nightmare, wouldn't it?
Haaland at half time. City back to Laporte. Here's Rodri in the centre circle, and Erling Haaland, of course, is on his worst run of scoring that he's ever been on for Manchester City currently, which is 1 match without scoring. And here is Gomez on the left hand side, and back it goes into Laporte.
He was poor the other night, I'm going to say it.
He was.
By his standards, he was poor, but his involvement in the goal, Mahrez's goal, the switch of play, is actually all created by Haaland's movement. So even when he's not good, he's still such an integral piece. Yeah,
misplaced pass there by Mahrez, and he's fouled Hall, so it's a free kick to Chelsea deep inside their own half. Yes, for those who don't know, of all of his appearances so far for Manchester City, 22 of them, he's failed to score in 6 of those appearances. But whenever he's not scored in a match for Manchester City so far, he's always scored in the next one. And he might appear in the second half. Chelsea will have to hope he doesn't. There is the half-time whistle. Pep Guardiola turns away, stares at the ground. I think Graham Potter has already gone down the tunnel ahead of him. And this is not a good scoreline for Chelsea and for Graham Potter. Manchester City lead by 3 goals to 0, and there's power to add. Izzy Christiansen.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult scene inside that Chelsea dressing room at half-time. 3-0 down, FA Cup tie. He'd been played off the park for the majority of that first half. Managers under pressure, teams not performing, a lot of changes in the squad. There's going to be a lot of harsh words, I think, that are going to be coming out of that dressing room right now.
Well, there's a strange incident there in that a boy ran onto the field and tried to run towards the players as they were leaving the pitch. And he's been intercepted by a couple of stewards and is being walked away. I mean, he can't be any more than probably, 13 or 14 or something like that. Anyway, they've taken him away into one corner of the ground, and Manchester City have this comfortable lead. It looks as though Manchester City are heading serenely through into the 4th round of the competition, and Chelsea are going out. Mahrez, Alvarez with the penalty, and Phil Foden. Manchester City 3, Chelsea 0.
Yeah, perhaps it was a Chelsea fan looking for an early dart. There might be a few of them. Izzy, I'm just going to read you some of the social media messages we're getting to 85058 and at 5 Live Sport, all from Chelsea fans. Rob, just don't understand our tactics under Potter. Play 90% of your football in your own third, will lead to mistakes and no goals. No attacking quality at all since he took charge. Jamie, same manager, same decisions. Why are we surprised? Another loss coming. Potter out. Rob, you have to say, if it wasn't for the fact that Chelsea are losing back-to-back games against Man City, Potter would be looking at the sack. This team is terrible. Steve, he must realise that he is out of his depth. It's going to be harder and harder to get players in. Thomas Tuchel should never have been sacked. Look, I know there are a lot of mitigating circumstances, like the injuries, like the fact that he can do absolutely nothing about Kai Havertz throwing his fist at the ball. However, there is a certain level of ugliness on the pitch which washes away all of those reasons. Are we getting to that point in this game?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. I think they're all fair points from the fans. I think there must be a real element of frustration given that Chelsea's track record over the past 4 or 5 years has been finals. There's been teams that are horrible to play against in terms of on and off the ball, and I've seen elements, and I'm emphasise elements of play by Chelsea in the earlier stages of this first half, which kind of suggested to me there's a plan here. It looked like a plan to me, and that just capitulated after 1-0. And at 1-0, you're still in the game. At 2-0, unless you're playing Man City, you're possibly still in the game. But against Manchester City, who are ruthless, like we've said on commentary, you've got absolutely no chance of getting back in the game. And I'm looking at the front three. In fact, I exclude Mason Mount from this, but Havertz and Ziyech, they cannot pin the ball. And if you are going to play, one of the fans, as you've just read out, has just said they're playing this ball out from the back under a lot of pressure. It's risk v reward, and sometimes it works. But what you need in that situation is your forwards to hold the ball. You need to hold the ball, not dangle legs at the ball and give away possession. There's no worse team to give away possession to than Man City, and I completely understand the frustrations of the Chelsea fans.
And look, Manchester City have been fantastic. But what also doesn't help Graham Potter is that I know football's not this simple, but if you're a Chelsea fan, you could justifiably look at this and say, this is Manchester City without De Bruyne and without Haaland, and they're making us look absolutely awful.
Well, exactly, and I've got no doubts that those two names mentioned will enter the pitch and things could get really nasty. And just looking at the Chelsea and looking at the spine of the team, obviously they played against Nottingham Forest and I thought that was poor. John Murray agreed with me. I thought the performance was poor. It didn't have any aggression, any plan. I'm seeing a little bit more of a plan today, but as soon as City score against you, the plan goes out the window, and you need real leadership in those moments to get a grip of the game and move forward. But they haven't done that, and they found themselves 3-0 down at half-time.
Izzy, John, thank you very much for the time being. Chelsea bench includes the new signings. Badiashile, of course, is a defender. Chukwuemeka, the young midfielder who's looked really good. And their new signing, David Datro Fofana, the Ivorian striker. Maybe we'll see him in the second half. Certainly Chelsea need to do something to stop this getting even worse. Manchester City 3, Chelsea 0, half-time at the Etihad. It's also half-time at Villa Park. Aston Villa Stevenage. Pat Murphy.
Villa lead 1-0. Unai Emery first down the tunnel. He didn't look terribly pleased at Villa's performance, and I don't blame him. For long periods they were constipated, abdicating responsibility at the final pass, but they got the goal after half an hour. Good work by Ings, a crucial pass after the build-up, and Sanson, right foot, 15 yards, got his first goal for the club. At the other end, though, sense of grievance for Stevenage. They thought they'd gone ahead. Rose scored from Norris's pass, marginally offside. Importantly, though, he'd lost his marker, so they'll be annoyed at that. Norris has led the side well up front there, hit the top of the bar just before half-time. They're still in the game, playing with a lot of spirit. Villa really not all that impressive. Villa 1, Stevenage 0.
There's been another goal in the game between Dundee United and Rangers. Gavin Wallace.
Indeed, Steve, it's two quick-fire goals for Rangers on the 56th minute. They doubled the lead, the visitors. It was a great run down the right-hand side. Birighitti, the goalkeeper, the Australian goalkeeper, did really well to try and outdo the cross, but he spilled it. United couldn't clear the lines, and Malik Tillman from 16 yards blasted it into the back of the net. Dundee United 0, Rangers 2.
Lots of reaction coming up to some of the big stories in the FA Cup so far this afternoon, including that incredible match at the Cardiff City Stadium, which finished Cardiff 2, Leeds United 2, and then second half commentary from the Etihad. All to come after the news with Richard Foster.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Prime Minister says he's willing to discuss pay concerns with health unions in England, but says any talks will be about future wage deals and not current ones. The Health Secretary, Steve Barclay, is due to meet union reps tomorrow. The leader of the RMT, Mick Lynch, thinks the government's plans could be window dressing.
You have to ask yourselves why the government is perpetuating these strikes when the amount of money that's been lost, both by the railway and by the other sectors, could have supported a reasonable pay deal and a reasonable set of conditions. So this is an ideological attack by the government on the trade unions and on working people.
Health service workers in Wales are being offered a one-off payment in an attempt to end strikes there. The First Minister, Mark Drakeford, says it's part of a package of measures.
It includes an offer of a one-off payment in the current financial year. What we cannot do, just simply haven't got the money to do, is to raise this year's offer in a way that gets consolidated in people's pay packets and goes on having to be paid for future years.
A new scheme to support businesses with their energy bills will be announced tomorrow. The current scheme caps the unit cost of gas and electricity for all businesses, but that expires at the end of March. The new one will offer a discount to wholesale prices rather than a fixed price. Officials in Ukraine have denied Moscow's claims that its forces have killed hundreds of soldiers in a strike on the eastern city of Kramatorsk. The head of the regional administration says Russian rockets hit a school, an industrial plant and a garage, but says there's been no casualties. International travellers are streaming back into China after it fully opened its borders for the first time since the start of the COVID pandemic. People arriving in the country no longer need to quarantine, and Chinese citizens are allowed to go abroad again. Some countries have introduced restrictions because of fears about rising COVID cases in China. And US forecasters say a relentless parade of cyclones will hit California in the coming days. Hundreds of thousands of people there are already without power following recent extreme weather.
5 Live Breakfast.
Britain is suffering one of the worst flu seasons for years. Despite hospital admissions falling in the last week, they're still pretty high, running above any point in the previous 4 winters. We had a big spike pre-Christmas. Dr. Helen Salisbury is a GP in Oxford and a writer for the British Medical Journal.
We have to look at the figures with a little bit of caution because there's sometimes some under-reporting over the holiday periods, or not all the numbers get where they're supposed to when there's lots of bank holidays going on. And I think the other thing that we need to just be a little bit worried about is schools are just about to go back or have just gone back, ditto workplaces. Lots of people haven't been mixing as they were before.
So you can get these kind of waves of infection, presumably, can you?
Absolutely.
Rachel Burden and Rick Edwards.
5 Live Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
And here are the FA Cup third round scores so far today. Bristol City 1, Swansea 1, Derby 3, Barnsley 0, Hartlepool 0, Stoke City 3, Norwich 0, Blackburn 1, Stockport 1, Walsall 2. They're all full times. At half-time, Aston Villa 1, Stevenage 0, and Manchester City 3, Chelsea 0. But the game of the day, Cardiff City 2, Leeds United 2, an absolute thriller. Lines are opening up for 606 08085 909 693 is the number to call to speak to Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, who'll be with you as soon as we're done at the Etihad. Afternoon, Robbie.
Afternoon, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You'll be a very proud Wrexham boy today, I would have thought.
Oh, what a game, wasn't it? Yeah,
amazing.
4-1 up. Yeah, 4-1 up Wrexham. The Hollywood story, Paul Mullen scoring goals for fun. Wrexham doing well in the National League, but what a win it was against a Mark Robins team. I know they were down to 10, but what a performance, hanging on at the end, and then rewarded with a home draw against Sheffield United, doing well in the Championship. So great day for Wrexham. Listen, Mickey Thomas goal against Arsenal, Steve, brings back memories. What a goal that was. Who got the winner in that game? I bet you don't remember, do you?
No, I don't.
Steve Watkin.
No,
people always talk about Mickey Thomas's goal, but what a game that was. But what a story Wrexham is, Steve. But
that's brilliant. We had Phil Parkinson on earlier today, who couldn't be less Hollywood. What a top bloke. Caused shocks down the years, all different competitions. Absolutely fantastic. Cardiff as well. It's a great day to be Welsh. So close.
Oh, so close, last minute, what is it, the equaliser. But yeah, what a game that was. Cardiff beat Leeds a number of years ago, didn't they, in the FA Cup? They couldn't go do that again, and it was credit Leeds, though, Steve, credit Leeds for the comeback. But I think Chris wants to talk about, Newcastle United, Nottingham Forest. Why on earth, realistically, you're not going to win anything this season. Listen, if Newcastle get in the top 4, it'd be incredible achievement, but why not put your strongest team out in this competition?
To be fair, Robbie, Chris did say to you last week, I heard him say his New Year's resolution was to be a bit less positive, and he's following up. Straight in on Newcastle.
Yeah.
By Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday. Hey, yeah, Darren Moore. Play with Darren Moore, fantastic guy, you know, doing exceptionally well. What a win it was for Sheffield Wednesday. But Newcastle, you know, with the form they're in, why not start your strongest team? You know,
didn't he pick a team that was comfortably strong enough to win that game on paper?
Well, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
So there you go.
True, but when you looked at the team beforehand, did you think, "Oh, risk? That's a risk"?
They didn't win it. You know, so Pep Guardiola will play his strongest team as often as he can. You look at Erik ten Hag now for Manchester United.
Yeah,
he will pick his strongest team as often as he can. I know, you know, because Chelsea have rotated today, and City, you know, listening to the commentary, you know, what a performance it is from Man City in that first half. If people are coming into the team, they know exactly what they're doing. So we got so much to talk about. The draw as well, Preston Spurs. There's so many good ones in it. Walsall, Leicester, is it? What else is there? Some good draws, Steve.
Well, you mentioned Wrexham, Sheffield United. That's a great one. And we've got Oxford or Arsenal at, well, I was going to say Manchester City or Chelsea. Just say Manchester City.
Man City. And also, Steve, listen, I heard the trail last week talking about with Chris talking about big bazookas and small guns. And Chris is obviously the bazooka of the show. I heard you say, "Oh, listen, it's fine, don't worry."
Listen, it's sometimes, Robbie, it's good to be the little gun. All right.
Yeah, it is, Steve. It is. Listen, 08085 909 693. Steve, we went on last night, so the FA Cup story. And listen, what a game at Mac yesterday, Steve. Beating League first v second 4-0.
Oh, we've just run out of time, Robbie.
4,313 was here. What a crowd. Fourth biggest in non-league. What unbelievable, Steve.
That is great, Robbie. Well done. And have a good one.
Top man.
08085 909 693. Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton with you for 606. Once we're done at the Etihad, Cardiff City fans, Leeds United fans, you definitely need to be getting in touch to have a chat. Let's hear from the Leeds manager. They came from 2-0 down to force a replay, equalising deep into injury time. Here's their manager, Jesse Marsh.
I'm proud of our team for fighting back and believing that they could figure out a way to equalize or get themselves back in the match. And obviously a little frustrated that we had such a bad start. I give credit to Cardiff. They were compact and organized and made it difficult for us. But for me, we made it also difficult on ourselves. So, you know, I said to him afterwards that we're still struggling to develop in ways that I want us to, football-wise. But the character and the belief in the team never wavers. And so that part, if we can get a little bit smarter and understand our football a little bit more, then we can continue to use that character to benefit us.
A great moment for young Sonny Perkins as well, who got the equaliser for Leeds United. They will go again. Looks like we're ready for the second half at the Etihad Stadium. Changes for Chelsea, John Murray.
Well, some grim faces, Steve, when the Chelsea players emerged from the dressing room and walked out of the tunnel. They look a little bedraggled, I have to say. They are 3-0 down here at half-time, and Graham Potter's making a double change, and he's going to give a debut to one of his new signings, David Datro Fofana, the Ivory Coast international. The number 27 is going to come on, and Denis Zakaria is also coming on into the midfield. So Kovacic makes way, and let me just work out who the other Chelsea player is who's coming off. It is Havertz, is it? Is he? Kai Havertz is off. So Havertz and Kovacic off. You know, Kovacic, that was one of the poorer halves I think I've seen from him in recent times. He's very often one of the leading players for Chelsea.
Yeah, I think he looked a little bit lost out there, which is rare to say for a very experienced Croatian international. But yeah, he just didn't get a grip of the ball. He gave the ball away far too easily, and I expected a lot of energy from him, as well as a lot of craft, and maybe being one of the key creators for Chelsea breaking from that midfield, but certainly got the opposite, and it resulted in a half-time substitution.
Yep, so Zakaria and Fofana on. So Fofana, as I say, 20 years old. He's been signed from Molde in Norway, Ivory Coast international. Had a good scoring record there in Norway, 22 goals in the Norwegian season last year. And here he is now coming into what is a thankless task, 3-0 down here. And Manchester City, as they were to begin the match, no changes for them. Pep Guardiola, I'm sure, will have said, just keep it going. Same again, please. Ortega in goal for City. Walker, Akanji, Laporte and Gomez. Bernardo Silva and Rodri. Mahrez, Foden, Palmer, and Alvarez. And the goals so far from Mahrez, Alvarez with the penalty, and Phil Foden. And the way that the first half played out, particularly the closing stages of the first half, that's why I've said so far for City, because it felt like there would be more to come. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You'll see what the changes do as well for Chelsea. It might be a bit too early to say, but Fofana seems to have a lot of energy about him. He looks very ready on the press. He looks sharp. Can he sustain that? Because that's key for Chelsea. If they can set the press right, they give themselves half a chance.
So he has gone and played as the central striker, as I say, the number 27, with Ziyech to his right, Mount to his left. But Manchester City, as they play from right to left, as we look at it here, from just to the left of the halfway line in the Colin Bell stand here at the Etihad Stadium. Still quite a lot of seats not being filled after the half-time break, and I just wonder whether some Chelsea supporters, there's 6,000 of them here, whether some of them have decided already to call it a day. There are some big gaps, empty blue seats I can see in the Chelsea section behind the goal to our right. But here is Alvarez, plays the ball back to Bernardo Silva, gets a quick touch on that and plays it with his left foot to Kyle Walker on the right hand side. And now Bernardo Silva again looks back and then passes the ball along the halfway line. I did have a look as well to see, when was the last time Manchester City had a hefty win against Chelsea, and it actually wasn't too long ago. It was when Maurizio Sarri was the manager in his final season. If you remember, City won 6-0 here in the Premier League. Laporte playing the ball from left to right, first time touch by Walker, back to Mahrez, square from him, 25 yards out. Rodri actually turns, he was under pressure there, and plays it back towards the halfway line. Sergio Gomez knocking it infield, so no Haaland, no De Bruyne yet for Manchester City, who we may see in the second half. It's entirely possible as well. Remember, Manchester City have got a cup quarter-final on Wednesday night. 5 Live, the place to listen to that, incidentally. Southampton against Manchester City. Whether he'll just keep them and rest them, but we'll see. Palmer playing it through to Gomez, who was in an offside position. So Chelsea have a free kick halfway inside the first half. And sitting here with me is Izzy Christiansen of Everton and England.
Yeah, good from Palmer, dropping into that deeper role. He's gone for that reverse pass in between the centre-back and right-back for Chelsea, but Alvarez was offside. But early signs for City, they're just continuing to dominate the ball, like we saw at the back end of the first half, John.
Yeah, they are ominous. Kepa playing the ball out from the back. There'll be great discussion about this, but let's see what happens in the second half. But certainly at the moment, as we heard, that 6:06 could be a difficult listen for Chelsea supporters, who will want to vent their anger at what is happening. Ball out of play for a throw-in that Hall takes back to the debutant Humphreys, playing in central defence. I will run you through the Chelsea team. In fact, I'll do it now because there's been a foul on Mount. So the Chelsea team now: Kepa in goal, the back four, Chalobah as the right back, Humphreys and Koulibaly. This is Bashir Humphreys, 19-year-old, who's been brought in today to make his debut, first senior competitive appearance for Chelsea. And Lewis Hall at left back, only his 5th appearance, the 18-year-old. And then in midfield now, Zakaria with Jorginho and Conor Gallagher, Ziyech, Mount, and another debutant, Fofana. Ball bouncing back into the Chelsea penalty area, where it's taken by Kepa, who overarms it out to Humphreys, who will carry the ball forward with his long dyed dreadlocks and plays it square towards Koulibaly. Fofana comes short, and then Hall goes back into his own half. And Chelsea just trying to find a foothold in the game now. Still lots and lots of people coming back to their seats, many of them carrying a warm cup of something. And here's Mount now, is able to scamper over the halfway line. Plays the ball to Hall, just slightly behind Lewis Hall, who actually gives it away, passes it straight to Alvarez in the centre circle. And that was an unforced error from the young left back. And Manchester City are suddenly on the move forward. Alvarez back towards Mahrez, looking to slip in. Palmer inside the box, but Chalobah has been able to shepherd it behind for a goal kick.
Just looking at Chelsea's shape, John, I actually think they might have changed shape. I think they've gone with 3 centre-backs, because Humphreys was actually playing the right-sided centre-back in the first half. Koulibaly looks central and Chalobah looks right of a back 3.
Yep, that's
See
right.
how that evolves, but Jorginho
and Conor Gallagher is the right wing back.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like to me. Just a change of shape might change things for Chelsea a little bit in terms of getting a grip.
Yeah, So those are the three central defenders now, as you said. Bashir Humphreys moving across towards the left-hand side, and Zakaria and Jorginho in front of the defence. Here's Koulibaly going for a high crossfield pass, but that, I think, is going to go out of play. It is. Gallagher had to back off the pitch. It was so high, and it's a throw-in. Graham Potter comes forward, claps his hands together, but it looks grim for him and Chelsea at the moment. Chelsea, who incidentally have not gone out in the third round of the FA Cup since the 20th century. It was 1998 that they last lost in the third round of the competition. It actually equals the record for the longest number of consecutive third round ties won, along with Manchester United. But that is going to end today, almost certainly, as City are playing the ball around. They're teasing with Chelsea here. Bernardo Silva nips in, passes it back to Ortega. Chelsea trying to win it back, but Chelsea up towards one of the goal scorers, Foden, who was fouled there by Jorginho, and it's a free kick to City, 10 yards inside their own half. Yeah,
just looking at the way that Chelsea and City are matched up and going, actually City couldn't actually find a way through Chelsea then, because Chelsea's press and start positions were quite good. And I've actually got on my notes here, John, sometimes Bernardo Silva adopts a role to make numerical overloads in areas of the pitch, i.e. dropping into centre-back. Now this is Bernardo Silva we're talking about, and that's exactly what he's just done, just to create the space. It moves players around. Just when Chelsea thought they were set, Bernardo Silva goes into centre-back.
Yeah, Rodri playing the ball out towards the right-hand side to Walker. Foden is there, turns, arms wide apart, chest puffed out. Phil Foden, then back to Walker. Walker against Young Hall. And then Foden again goes back closer towards the halfway line to the sometime central defender Bernardo Silva. We've talked, haven't we, about Lisandro Martinez not being 6 feet, and of course the great Italian Fabio Cannavaro was, I think he was around about 5'10", but I think Bernardo Silva in central defence is probably stretching that one. 3-0 Manchester City lead. Still Aston Villa 1, Stevenage 0 in the only other FA Cup tie currently underway, and Dundee United 0, Rangers 2 in the 4 o'clock kickoff in the Premiership. And 5 Live, the place to listen to Oxford United Arsenal tomorrow night. Jonathan Pearson, Clinton Morrison with that, and there'll be an hour of the Monday Night Club with the first team tomorrow night in with Mark Chapman for that. So that's 5 Live Sport tomorrow evening. But this is 5 Live and the World Service from the BBC, watching Mason Mount for Chelsea, who's just eased over by Rodri, and he didn't like that. Mount got to his feet. There's a bit of frustration there as well. You know, this is not what Chelsea are used to, and it's a yellow card for Rodri for that.
Yeah, debatable. I think it was for the ball as well. He's taking the ball away from Mount just when Mount was trying to take a quick free kick. He's pulled his shirt as well in the process. I like that from Mount, though, you know, a bit of bite, a bit of aggression, showing a bit of passion. You know, you need players like that at this moment to step up, and that's exactly what Mount's doing. It was a really good first touch to take it past Rodri. He was on the opposite side of Rodri, took his first touch across him, causes a foul.
So a free kick for Chelsea, 10 yards inside the Manchester City half, towards the right-hand side here. This is our side of the field. Gallagher will pass the ball through to Mason Mount, who shoots across goal, and Ortega diving after it. I think he did get a fingertip to it. Yes, he did. Yeah. Robert Jones says it's a corner to Chelsea there first. So that's something.
Yeah, it's just a quick free kick. Gallagher slips it down the side. 1v1 Mason Mount with Alvarez, who's tracked him. Shot across goal. Takes a deflection, and yeah, Ortega's also got a fingertip to it to push it past the post, but good from Mount again.
I think, is that Chelsea's first attempt on goal?
Must be.
Certainly on target.
Yeah, it must be.
And that is in the 54th minute. Corner is taken short, and it's driven across by Ziyech, but Koulibaly, who was after it at the near post, there's a defender in there as well who was able to block it away, and Chelsea and Manchester City are able to clear it, which they do. Rodri then leaps and volleys it towards the halfway line, and Lewis Hall will pass it all the way back to goalkeeper Kepa. So City leading Chelsea by 3-0. 6:06 on the way on 08 085 909 693 to talk to Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton tonight. Hashtag BBC 606 to get in touch as well. And in the FA Cup, if you don't know, all of the clips and the stories as well, of course, are on the football pages of the BBC Sport website. The TV highlights, the proper TV Packaged highlights are on BBC One after the news tonight, and anytime on the iPlayer. And then the 5 Live Football Daily podcast will have it all in the morning, free from BBC Sounds. So Manchester City in complete control. Mahrez, Alvarez with a penalty, and Foden. Still just the one goal in it at Villa Park, Pat Murphy?
That's right. There's still 1-0 to Villa. This scored by Morgan Sanson. But Stevenage, they won't give up. They're pushing hard now. They're putting pressure on Villa. Villa's defence doesn't look all that secure. Much changed side from Wednesday night, and they're not really gelling. But that was a good goal set up by Ings, converted expertly by Sanson, but they're still in this game with power to add. Stevenage, it's Villa 1, Stevenage 0.
Chelsea clearing the ball away from the edge of their own penalty area. Ziyech then just directs it back to Humphreys, who will knock it across his penalty area, and Kepa allowing the ball to run, passes it out to Chalobah, who is being pressed by Palmer, and as a result he's passed the ball away to Bernardo Silva, but Conor Gallagher's able to win it back. Chelsea still inside their own half.
Laughing because Rodri thought about it. Gallagher took his touch and he knew that if Rodri clips him, he's on a yellow card. It could have been. So Rodri's clever, he saw it and he just pulled his leg out at the right time.
Manchester City substitutes coming. Not Haaland, not De Bruyne, but Cancelo and Calvin Phillips are the two players who are going to be brought on by Pep Guardiola. Let's get the latest news from Tannadice in the Premiership. Gavin Wallace.
Dundee United 0, Rangers 2, John. 2 goals in 2 minutes from Fashion Sakala and Malik Tillman of Rangers, on course to close that gap to 9 points to Celtic. Rangers have upped the pace in the second half. United looking tired. Dundee United 0, Rangers 2.
Chelsea making ground up the right wing. They've won a throw in, and here we'll see what the changes are going to be. Pep Guardiola taking absolutely no risks with Rodri, and he's on a yellow card, and there is that cup quarter-final on Wednesday night at Southampton, so off he comes, and he's going to be replaced by Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, he's a very important member of the squad. Man City squad is Rodri. It seems to be Pep's go-to. If he doesn't start and City aren't winning in a game, he'll put Rodri on to start an impetus.
And Sergio Gomez, who's played at left back today, is replaced by Cancelo, and that is going to be a straight swap. So Cancelo going in there as the substitute left back. So Manchester City leading Chelsea by 3-0. Ball out of play on the far side. Chelsea crossfield pass straight out for a throw to Manchester City, and they take that throw, and it's played infield to Laporte, who will give Cancelo his first touch of the ball. 2 more Chelsea changes coming up. We're going to see Amari Hutchinson again after he made his debut in the Premier League against Manchester City on Thursday night, and Azpilicueta is also coming on, the club captain. I think there's applause down to our left because Haaland has been sent out to warm up for Manchester City, and those Chelsea subs are coming up. It's Jorginho and Ziyech who are going to be the 2 players to make way for those 2. So 3-0 Manchester City lead. Still half an hour to play, but no further addition to the scoreline since half-time when City were leading comfortably by 3-0. Here's Calvin Phillips. Remember, this is still only his 6th appearance for Manchester City, yet to start a match for them in any of the competitions. Hall has got it for Chelsea though, knocks it across to Koulibaly, who will pass it out to Conor Gallagher as the right wing back in the second half. Chalobah passes it back to Kepa, who turns it across the penalty area to Humphreys, and Humphreys sees Mahrez approaching, so we'll pass it back across the penalty area, and Chelsea passing it out from the back, and Lewis Hall now drops back in there as well. They can't get out of their own defensive third at the moment. Still a patient approach, and now Chalobah again on the right hand side goes to play it downfield. Ziyech played it to Zakaria and then went to ground, and that has resulted simply in the ball being collected by Manchester City again, and that went absolutely nowhere for Chelsea.
Yeah, it was good bit of play out from the back, and that when I spoke about half time, the dinked ball into the forwards needs to stick, and Ziyech has actually tried to flick it around the corner and get the return pass from Fofana, and Ziyech fell over in the process of flicking it, and it just gives possession back to Man City, and they rebuild with the press. Well, they haven't even set a press yet, Chelsea. They're just filling spaces before they can set a press, because if you do 1-2 prematurely, you'll get picked off.
That's Izzy Christiansen. This is 5 Live in the World Service. This match is on BBC One as well, by the way. If you're on your way home, if you're a Manchester City fan, I would get it on and see what happens next. If you're a Chelsea fan, is Songs of Praise still on a Sunday afternoon, Izzy? Might be a better option.
I know I've heard of that programme, John, but
yes.
Can't say I tune in often.
Well, it's 10 yet. Here's Phillips, who plays it back into central defence, and it's passed forward by Akanji, who I think has put on a pair of gloves in the second half, the Swiss central defender. Here's Mahrez, also black gloves. Walker into the penalty area. He's beaten Humphreys, but then checks back and gives it to Mahrez, who started the scoring with that excellent free kick. Cancelo is then balked by Conor Gallagher. And remember, Rodri having been yellow carded, the home supporters I think wanted the yellow card to come out from Robert Jones, and that's exactly what happens. And Conor Gallagher becomes the first Chelsea player to be booked in the match. Free kick, City.
I feel like he had to make that foul, Gallagher. He's playing out of position in this wing-back role. He's gone out to the ball. He's just a little bit late to put pressure on Cancelo. He's caught him, and definitely yellow card. It's quite a high challenge.
So here come the changes then. Jorginho is off, and Azpilicueta's been given the captain's armband. So he's gone out there with the instructions. Whether Chelsea switch it to a back four again, we'll see. Amari Hutchinson then comes on, having made his debut as a substitute on Thursday night. The 19-year-old, the Jamaican international, he comes on, and we know where he'll slot in on the right-hand side. So here's the free kick for Manchester City, which is headed away by Koulibaly, but Mahrez will get there first in the Chelsea left-back area. Humphreys comes across, Palmer is there as well, and Palmer goes back all the way towards the halfway line. So Chelsea have made those changes. Azpilicueta on the right-hand side of the defence. Still 3 central defenders. Azpilicueta is the right wing.
It's a back 5, yeah. Azpilicueta into a familiar role. Gallagher, back into a central role alongside Fofana. There's 2 6s operating, and then the front 3 of Hutchinson, Mount, Zakaria.
So City with the ball, 3-0 up, and Laporte back to Cancelo, and then Cancelo, who was just caught there by Azpilicueta. There's a bit of experience there, isn't there? Azpilicueta just sending out the message there that Chelsea need to show a little bit of something, bit of fighting spirit as much as anything else. And Azpilicueta's going to provide it as Chelsea win a free kick for a foul by Walker on the far side. But
did see it from Conor Gallagher the other night on Thursday. He came on as a substitute, and he was just running around pressing, and he was leaving a few on some of the City players, but it's what you need at the moment.
Well, I was saying this morning on 5 Live Breakfast, after what happened in the latter stages on Thursday night, that maybe the best thing for Chelsea in this match would have been to try and bring a bit of chaos to it.
Absolutely.
But we've not seen that.
No, we haven't. Start with the back 5, but 2 6s in front and see him play on the break, ease into the game, like you say, make it into a mess, almost a controlled mess. Stay in the game.
But the reaction is not going to be good from the Chelsea supporters. Just to remind you, this is only his 18th match in charge in League and Cup, Graham Potter. This is still very, very early days. There's still this immense injury list, but I'm afraid it's the manner of the performance and performances that is not a good sign for him and for Chelsea. Here's Fofana. First time we've seen him have a run with the ball, but Laporte comes in and is able to tackle it out of play for a throw-in down the right-hand side. 25 minutes to go. Graham Potter and Chelsea need to lift it. They need a performance here. They need to get something out of this in much the same way that they did take a little bit of something from what happened at Stamford Bridge on Thursday evening.
Yeah, they need to do something.
Azpilicueta, then to Hutchinson in the box, only half cleared out to Zakaria. Zakaria puts the challenge in on Foden, the ball bounces square to Gallagher, now to Hall in the box on the left hand side, then back to Gallagher again, onto his right foot, turns, he's lost, he's dispossessed by Mahrez, and Mahrez then curls a low ball forward for Alvarez to chase. This is like the World Cup, watching Alvarez chase a ball like that downfield, and now he's waiting for his teammates in sky blue. Palmer is there behind him, and Palmer goes back to Phillips more centrally, and the counter-attack comes to nothing, and Manchester City continue to lead by 3-0. City just slowing it down. They don't want that chaos scenario, so they're quite happy just to control the match. And it's steered forward by Phillips, Calvin Phillips, and then City. This is all now composure. From when Chelsea had it there, you saw a touch of the harem scarum, trying to put the wind up Manchester City, but City now have just closed it down again. And we will head back to Tannadice and Gavin Wallace. We will. Here he comes. Come in, Dundee. No, sorry, he's not there. Hello, Gavin. What's the news?
What's going on at full-time? Dundee United 0, Rangers 2, and 2 goals in 2 minutes, enough to ensure Michael Beale's men cut the gap on Celtic to 9 points. Fashion Sakala smashing home after a poor United clearance opened up the scoreline. Manic Tillman on the end of a flick, he fired home from 15-16 yards as well. Michael Beale remains unbeaten as Rangers manager. United stay 11th. Dundee United 0, Rangers 2.
Thank you very much, Gavin. And Hibs 3-2 winners at Motherwell earlier with that Kevin Nisbet hat-trick. The 2 matches in the Premiership in Scotland today. Lines open for 606 now. 08 085 909 693 to book your call with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. They weren't on last night because of the FA Cup commentaries, so it'll be twice as good tonight. Here's Phillips inside his own half, passes it back to Akanji. Chris Sutton will be with me for the Southampton-Manchester City commentary on Wednesday night at St Mary's. We'll have them all covered. The quarter-finals, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, 5 Live and Sports Extra. Here's Palmer to Cancelo, but Cancelo's ball in field. It's misplaced, but it's given away. Cancelo is quickly onto that. Zakaria, careless pass. Walker, now on the right-hand side. And Bernardo Silva then curls it back centrally to Calvin Phillips. Phillips then to his left and forward to Mahrez. Then little touch back towards the halfway line by Cancelo, and Manchester City knocking it around. I just wonder here as well whether this could be ominous for Chelsea. Sometimes when you see City like this, these are the signs that they're just going to start upping it again for, 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, they do. The players are all on the same page and brainwave in terms of how they're going to manipulate the opponent now, and they just wait for the gaps, exactly that there. Ball over the top, forward run from Mahrez, because Chelsea all got sucked out towards the ball. They just slow the rhythm of the game down, and they've got players in every department who have got the ability to speed the game back up with a pass or a run. It's just, it takes a lot of years to build that level where you've got number 1 in the squad to number 25 who are all on the same page, been able to dictate a rhythm of a match and know what's next. It's exactly what we're seeing here with Manchester City.
Applause now because Kevin De Bruyne has been sent out in his orange bib to warm up down the touchline to our left. So the ever popular De Bruyne receiving an ovation for that. Fofana for Chelsea did well on the left hand side, won a throw in near the halfway line, which Chelsea take, but they go back into their own half, and then all the way back to Kepa. It's the other side of the FA Cup, this. Nothing like the drama that I witnessed at Hillsborough last night, which was quite a tie. I don't know whether you were able to follow that.
I did. I saw most of the second half and a little bit of the first half, and I was very, very impressed with Sheffield United, the tactics, the way they set up.
Yeah, they did well Wednesday, didn't they? Yeah.
The dark arts of Newcastle, eh?
Mm-hmm.
The dark arts.
Yeah.
Saw it against Arsenal, and they didn't like it being done to them, did they?
Didn't like it up. And here's Gallagher, who is fouled by Bernardo Silva, and that's a yellow card for Bernardo Silva. Just a little trip as Chelsea were looking to bring it away. And here's Hutchinson, now to Azpilicueta on the right-hand side. Back to Hutchinson, but he's not going to reach that. I'm afraid it's not happening. It's not happening for Chelsea at all, and it's through for a goal kick.
It's the wrong pass from Azpilicueta. There's not the space for Hutchinson to run into. There isn't the space for that pass to be slipped into the channel without running out of pitch, and that's exactly what's happened. The ball's gone out of play. City rebuild again. Expect better from him.
a little flat. You can hear it. Some of the supporters, I think some of the Chelsea fans actually trying to do their bit to support their team. 6,000 of them here today, and having to watch the team 3-0 down at half-time. Ortega hits a long pass from inside his penalty area for Alvarez to chase. He's not got a teammate in a sky blue shirt within 30 yards of him, and actually can't keep it in on the far side either. It's a throw in to Chelsea. Yeah, very different experience this. I mean, the FA Cup, as you know, is how you find it, isn't it? And if you're at a match when it's like it was at Hillsborough last night, you know, it is a great free feeling to witness that as a neutral, or when it's going your way and it's your team. Not so great if you're Newcastle. Manchester City with it on the right hand side, knocking it about nicely. Here's Palmer now. Palmer turns and gives it back into the centre circle, and Chukwuemeka, who I know many Chelsea fans thought might start this match because of the way that he contributed when he came on as a substitute on Thursday night, is now going to come on for the final 20 minutes or so. The former Villa youngster, another teenager, of course, £20 million teenager, mind you. Manchester City, Mahrez, then back to Phillips, and then Phillips square towards Palmer. Palmer could have used Cancelo, but turns and comes in field, and then City. Phillips had to stretch for that, but won it in the challenge with Hutchinson, and the ball ran to Palmer, and now Cancelo twists one way and the other and plays it past Azpilicueta, and then Palmer, square from him to Bernardo Silva, pass into the path of Mahrez, onto his left foot, bending the shot just wide of the foot of the far left post.
Sharp as a knife for Man City, the way they've just carved through that Chelsea midfield. The square pass from Cole Palmer that finds Bernardo Silva. I was just talking earlier about that turn of pace, John, that City can do with the ball, the way they manipulate the ball. Bernardo Silva feeds it into the pass of Mahrez, and we know what's going to happen next. He's on that right hand side, cuts inside with pace and venom, and just tries to bend it into the far corner. Just watching a replay here, it's inches away, if that. Super play from Man City, and excellent scanning and check of the shoulder from Cole Palmer in the pocket there. Practice of that.
Mason Mount is off, missed training this week, missed the match on Thursday. Chukwuemeka is on. Chelsea play it forward to Azpilicueta on the chase. He's got there. Laporte holds him up. Laporte falls over, and he gives it to Hutchinson, and Hutchinson now rolls it all the way across the penalty area. He was trying to roll it, pass it into the path of the run that was coming from Azpilicueta, but it went all the way through beyond the far post goal kick.
Yeah, it was actually Azpilicueta he found himself in. João Cancelo caught out of position, ball over the top. The ball ends up finding Hutchinson, and he's just tried to guide it, a little bit similar to what Mahrez has done, but with half the pace on the ball at the other end. Yeah, and it's just gone wide, but yeah, you could see Graham Potter down there on the touchline. Gutted not to see that one bury into the back of the net.
So it is still 3-0, and Ortega is able to take the goal kick and get it back, and he has the ball on the edge of his penalty area, and Ortega hits this pass way beyond any teammate and through to Kepa, the goalkeeper, who chests it down in front of his penalty area at the other side. And mentioning the great competition that is the FA Cup, and it still is, and the final is a great occasion, whether it's the men's final or the women's final. The ball is played across, the ball is turned back by Humphreys to his goalkeeper Kepa, who will pass it out towards the left-hand side. Chelsea's men have been able to enjoy being in the FA Cup final for the last 3 seasons, even though they've ended up on the losing side on all 3 occasions. That's not going to happen this season. However, there is an opportunity to win tickets for both of the FA Cup finals with the great Greg James on Radio 1 in the morning as part of Radio 1's Jan Slam giveaway, which is beginning from breakfast time in the morning from 7 o'clock. And he's always such a great supporter of our commentaries on 5 Live, Greg James, that I feel duty bound almost to give them a bit back. So an opportunity to win tickets for both of the FA Cup finals with Greg James in the morning on Radio 1.
Be tuning in.
Never miss him. He is, as I say, he's a great man. Here is Kepa playing the ball out towards the right-hand side. Chalobah being put under pressure by Palmer, and now Chalobah gets it back, and then back it goes to Koulibaly in central defence. There's a sort of atmosphere almost of a cricket match rather than a football match at times now, because everyone knows that this is over as a contest. Gallagher passing the ball out of play on the far side.
Yeah, well, he's just found the boundary, hasn't he?
He has, yes. Yeah, 4 runs. And Manchester City play the ball across their back line, and Laporte will nod it back to Ortega. So where's this going to leave Graham Potter then? Needing results and performances is the simple answer, isn't it?
Yep. I actually expected, at the start of the week with these 2 ties ahead, I actually expected this game and this performance to be on Thursday, and I expected Thursday to be today.
I know exactly what you mean. Gallagher, challenged by Alvarez, bounces back to Chelsea on the halfway line. So where Chelsea go next is, I think, what is a really tricky looking match at Fulham on Thursday night. Fulham, who have really at times impressed this season, as Chalobah plays it forward. Hutchinson might have come back from an offside position. No flag yet. Hutchinson tries to pick out the pass to Chukwuemeka on the left side of the box, but Walker was able to check back and play it out for a throw near the halfway line.
Yeah, he looked offside at first, didn't he, Hutchinson? But it wasn't. No flag from the linesman. But again, that final pass, not enough pace on it. Kyle Walker's recovery run into that right back position just stops it going into the path of Chukwuemeka. But yeah, just find out how do you work on that. You've just got to keep practicing. And where does it leave Chelsea? Going back to your earlier question, honestly, I'm not sure, because there hasn't been much from this performance apart from the opening 15 minutes that suggested to me that there's a structure or a plan.
Here is Fofana stretching for it. Then Chukwuemeka gives it to Hutchinson. Hutchinson inside Cancelo. It's flicked back by Chukwuemeka to Hutchinson, and then to the edge of the box where Zakaria tries to pick out the shot and actually hits Akanji amidships, who has gone down. He's caught it right between the legs, and it's deflected away and up and over the top, and he will take a few moments to recover from that before the Chelsea corner. Chelsea corner from the right. Akanji is still rolling around on his back, and it's the classic scenario whereby everyone apart from the person involved finds this amusing. So Chelsea won't be able to take this corner for a moment or two. Still, Aston Villa have got that narrow lead against League 2 Stevenage at Villa Park. That is on Sports Extra right now, the commentary, and while Akanji just regroups and is now up on his feet and walking across, swinging his arms, and now leaning forward and putting his hands on his knees. I think Robert Jones is giving him as much time as he can, and there's the whistle for the taking of this Chelsea corner. Gallagher takes this, a deep one towards the back post, headed across by Chalobah. No, headed straight back out of play by Chalobah. So a goal kick to Manchester City.
Yeah, interesting choice of corner by Gallagher. He's gone for that fizz ball to the back post, sort of guided it across. The type of cross that if you get anything on it, you can't generate enough power for it to go in the back of the net. I'm thinking outswing that, put some pace on it, cause a bit of chaos in that 6-yard box for Chelsea and City to defend, especially when Akanji was feeling it a little bit.
Yep. That's Izzy Christiansen with us here on 5 Live on the World Service. Lines open for 606 on 08085 909 693 with the hopefully the answers to the question of where do Chelsea go after this. So Fulham away on Thursday, then Crystal Palace at home is their next match next weekend, next Sunday, and then Liverpool away after that, and then Fulham again at Stamford Bridge. Those are the next 4 matches, and the Champions League matches against Borussia Dortmund just round the corner next month. Manchester City winning it back from Gallagher, and Bernardo Silva sets off on a run forward from the centre circle, but then turns back, plays it infield towards Mahrez then to Palmer, and then Palmer's attempted ball to the left hand side was blocked away by Azpilicueta, and Chelsea have got it back inside their own half. So let's make another visit to Villa Park and Pat Murphy, shall we?
Villa still leads Stevenage 1-0 through that Sanson goal after half an hour. Stevenage still trying though. Their impressive captain Pierre Gianni in centre back, he headed over the bar from a corner, annoyed with himself. Reeves then toe-ended one past Olsen in the Villa goal, but past his left post. Rash substitution substitutions, 4 to Stevenage, 5 to Villa. Villa 1, Stevenage 0.
Thank you, Pat. That's on Sports Extra, so there may yet be a little bit of late drama at Villa Park. I don't think that's going to be the case here, although I noticed stewards are scurrying across the upper tier of the section where the Chelsea fans are. So whether there's something happening up there or not, there are lots of them now, dozens and dozens in yellow jackets, and in fact I think they might be police, mightn't they, in the yellow jackets, and orange jacketed stewards, and they're making their way up the steps together. This is in the top tier of the stand to our right, so we'll keep an eye on that. Frustration in the stands perhaps from Chelsea supporters. Certainly I'm sure no Chelsea fan can be happy about what they're seeing here and what they're seeing from Chelsea at the moment, but people need to control themselves.
Yeah, just looking up there, John, I'm not sure that is the away end. I thought the away end was over there in front, but to our right, but they did actually go down the tunnel or through
section,
they might be going over there.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so those police officers have gone up the steps and have gone into the stand out of our sight, so whether there's something happening in there or not, I don't know. 3-0 Manchester City continue to lead. Phil Foden is fouled, so free kick for Manchester City that Laporte just plays back into the edge of the penalty area. So no De Bruyne, no Haaland. I think that is a case of keeping them for Southampton rather than Pep Guardiola taking any sort of pity on Chelsea. As Laporte knocks it to his right to Akanji, and then out to Kyle Walker on the right hand side. Walker, who was given plenty of time to recover from the World Cup. Remember, he had that long spell out. It was a race to be fit to play for England in the latter matches for England at the World Cup, and but now started on Thursday and has started here. Ortega passes it forward. Cancelo challenges for that, bounces down again, stabbed forward by the boot of Chalobah. Hutchinson kept it in play, but that only presented it to Cancelo. And I mean, Manchester City have just toyed with Chelsea in the second half.
Yeah, they've played games, and like I said, they've got players that are able to recognise that, dictate the ball, manipulate the ball, force Chelsea out of spaces, and then go and exploit them. Going back to Walker, John, he's been absolutely fantastic tonight. He's been sharp.
Mahrez bringing it forward, giving it to Bernardo Silva. Now Foden through the middle. He's leaned into by Koulibaly. Penalty. Foden bundled over, shoved over. Koulibaly says there wasn't much in that, but referee Jones had a sight of it and says penalty.
And look over there, Foden's got the ball and Mahrez is asking for it, and Foden's keeping it. I think there's a bit of brotherhood going on between them. Can't see their facial expressions.
He's given it to Mahrez. He didn't want to. He sort of juggled the ball around his back, Phil Foden, but Mahrez has grabbed it.
Yeah.
And remember, Riyad Mahrez has had a couple of penalties saved this season. So, it has been a bit of an issue. Not just this season, but in times past as well. Remember Anfield, the one that he blazed over the top of the crossbar.
Yep.
So Riyad Mahrez obviously feeling that he wants to set the record straight here, and he wants to prove his worth as a penalty taker, having already scored one in this match with the excellently struck free kick. Kepa still hasn't retreated to his line. VAR have had a look at that and clearly decided that it's not a clear and obvious error, that the decision to award the penalty to Manchester City was correct. So here we are, a chance for Manchester City to put the seal on it with a fourth goal. It is Mahrez from the penalty spot, left-footed, and he drives it high. Kepa dives down to his left, but that was very well dispatched by Riyad Mahrez for his second goal of the match, and Manchester City get their fourth goal. It's 4-0 now against Chelsea, and this is an FA Cup thumping now for Chelsea. I mean, it has been, but now we've got the scoreline to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely no nonsense from Mahrez. Just watching the replay here, he just blasts it into the roof of the net. He waits for Kepa to move, he moves to his left, and he just blazes it into, it doesn't even go in the top corner, it just goes central left of the goal. He's hit it with so much venom. Kepa's already gone down. And then just interestingly, as the ball rebounded out of the net, Kyle Walker just on the follow-up blazed the ball into the stand I think it hit someone in the crowd. And then Walker's just apologised to them and ran off and celebrated with the rest of his teammates. But really ruthless from Mahrez.
4-0 then, 2 goals for Mahrez. That's Manchester City's second penalty of the match. Alvarez took the first one, but Mahrez wanted this one, and he absolutely buried it, as Izzy was saying. So 4-0 it is, and the away end now very rapidly emptying. The Chelsea supporters, they're off back home, wherever it is, whether it's London or elsewhere, and City supporters in the lower section of the stand there doing the Poznan to celebrate City's victory here today against Chelsea. So comfortable, and they will be at home to either Oxford United or Arsenal in the 4th round. Straight back to Villa Park, Pat Murphy.
We're checking for a penalty for Stevenage. Dendoncker caught dallying on the ball. Hold back Campbell. The referee has brandished a red card, Graham Scott, to Dendoncker. We're waiting for the adjudication. Come back to me when I have it for you, John.
Will do, Pat. Thought that Manchester City might have been in for a third penalty there, but it was actually a very good tackle in the box on the Manchester City player, and Chelsea were able to get it away, is it?
Yeah, it was sloppy play from Koulibaly, playing out from the back for Chelsea. He just passes it into the path of Mahrez, who just dribbles through, but it's really sloppy from Chelsea. Just got to keep their heads. They're just not doing that. They're all over the place.
Chelsea take a free kick back to goalkeeper Kepa. Incidentally, Chelsea have conceded 2 penalties in this match. They went 32 games without conceding a penalty before this match in all competitions. So 2 penalties, 4 goals for Manchester City. You know, it's a true reflection of what we've seen here today. Rico Lewis, by the way, has come onto the field to replace Bernardo Silva. So the question is he for this match? Where's Rico playing? Well, I can answer that in a moment. Back to Pat.
Jamie Reid is about to take a penalty for Stevenage to make it 1-1. Villa still lead 1-0. Dendonker's been sent off for hauling back Campbell in the penalty area. Elaboration from the Villa defence. Culpable there. Here's Jamie Reid. Can he make it 1-1? Yes, he can. He sends the keeper the wrong way. And the 3,000 Stevenage supporters absolutely thrilled. Villa's own fault, but Stevenage deserve it because they've kept going. Jamie Reid makes it Aston Villa 1, Stevenage 1, 3 minutes plus added time to go.
And that is where the traditional spirit of the FA Cup is right now in this 3rd round. Aston Villa 1, Stevenage 1. Listen to it on Sports Extra here on 5 Live and the World Service. Manchester City coasting through into the 4th round, and Chelsea under pressure again. That's cleared away by Zakaria and Gallagher, but it comes back to the edge of the Chelsea penalty area, and across it goes to Humphreys, who passes it up to Hutchinson, who almost gave it away to Foden, and Chelsea knocking it around their own penalty area. And I know that managers always like to talk about the positives, don't they, on occasions like this, when the result has gone the wrong way. It's really difficult to know what Graham Potter is going to be able to pick out, how he's going to be able to explain this away. Mahrez has been given the Emirates FA Cup Player of the Match, incidentally.
Yeah, I don't really know what Graham Potter can take from this, to be honest. There hasn't been anything in the second half other than minutes in the legs for younger players. More first-team exposure. Just going back to City, John, I'm just watching the attitude and the application of Phil Foden, a player who's been in and out of the team a little bit for City, didn't play too much since the World Cup. He struggled for a start. You could see what the goal meant to him tonight, and his work rate off the ball is unbelievable. Pressing, high-speed runs. He is an example to anyone. If you're not in the team all the time, that's what you do to please your manager.
Started 2 of the last 6 in all competitions for City, either side of the World Cup. Here Chelsea, this is a rare attack for Chelsea. Hutchinson and Hall over there on the left-hand side, 2 of the teenagers, and that's it as well. You do need to say that, there are teenagers on all areas of the field for Chelsea because of the situation that they're in. But there are teenagers for Manchester City as well. Rico Lewis, who is playing in a central midfield position, and straight back to Villa Park and Pat Murphy, because
Stevenage lead 2-1. Dean Campbell, left-footed, from a short corner. Villa napping. They didn't pick up Campbell. He advanced and delivered an absolute howitzer through a crowded player. And there they are. Villa 56 places above Stevenage, trail 2-1 to Stevenage. There are 6 minutes of added time to go. Stevenage have scored twice in 2 minutes. Cat, pigeons, banana skin, magic of FA Cup, John.
Isn't it? It's right there for Stevenage. And what a scalp that would be for Stevenage of League Two if they're able to win at Villa Park from a goal down. That is right up there with the stories of the weekend.
Yeah, up there with last night as well. Sheffield Wednesday v Newcastle. But yeah, that is, if they can hold on, that is, John. We know what can happen in the FA Cup in the last few minutes.
We do, but that could be another Premier League team out of the FA Cup. Almost half of them either have gone or will go in this third round. As City come forward down the right hand side, Chelsea, you can add them to the list as well, heading out of the FA Cup here. But City with it on the right hand side. Mahrez is on a hat-trick now. Kyle Walker bringing it forward, and then Rico Lewis tidies up in midfield. Yeah, what a future he's got ahead of him.
Super player. Very comfortable operating as a fullback, or as he's proven, a six. Not a natural six, but just the reading of the game in and out of possession. He knows exactly what he's going to do with the ball before he receives it. Player that's come through the academy, and it's really showed. A lot of credit needs to be given there to the structure and the methods at City, the coaching methods, that he is just talking about that textbook early that Pep Guardiola in Manchester City will have. Rico Lewis is that.
Well, that is it. Manchester City, comprehensive winners. And that is 3 out of 3 against Chelsea this season. Knocked them out of both domestic cups. They've won 5 in a row against Chelsea since they lost to them in Porto in the Champions League final of 2021. And for Chelsea now, these defeats are stacking up. That is 6 in their last 9 league and cup matches, and they've gone out in the third round of the FA Cup for the first time since 1998. And Manchester City, comprehensive winners. Mahrez with 2 goals, 1 a penalty. Alvarez a penalty as well in the first half. Phil Foden as well. I'm sure there'll be more to come on this, but Aston Villa Stevenage is where it's at. Final score here though, Manchester City 4, Chelsea 0.
Yeah, we'll take you to Villa Park shortly as they head into the final stages of that game. But Izzy Christiansen, I'm just looking at pictures of Graham Potter wandering around the pitch, shaking hands with the officials. What on earth is going to be going through his head?
Oh, I don't know what he's going to say in his post-match interview. Sorry, we were just saying there on air with John that I can't see any positives from this performance from Chelsea today. I saw them competing in the first 15 minutes with Man City, but as soon as they conceded, they capitulated, and it just became a goal fest for City. I actually think City could have scored more. Kind of looked to me a little bit like they were reserving the way they countered and transitioned on Chelsea as they went forward. They kind of reserved themselves, manipulated the ball, and really gave Chelsea a horrible time this afternoon.
City were brilliant though, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. They always are. You know, apart from the first half the other night, on Thursday night against Chelsea, whichever number of changes Guardiola makes to his starting 11, you just see the same performance level, the same manipulation of the ball, dictating the ball around the pitch, sucking opponents out to exploit gaps. It's just kind of a feat of their play, and I'm sorry, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it when they're in the form like that. And big performance from Kyle Walker. I think Guardiola will be most pleased about that because he's back. That means City are starting to turn the screw.
Chelsea fans on 85058 at 5 Live Sport. Paul, as a Chelsea fan, I want Potter out now. We can't continue to play in such a clueless way. Isaac, Potter needs time to do what he does. Chelsea are building a lasting project. Clear out those who don't fit within it. Give the man at least a couple of years. Connor, I've got behind all of our managers except for Benitez. I'm sorry, Potter isn't ready for a club with this many egos. Den, by the time Bowley makes the decision to sack Potter, will have been relegated and be in the Championship. Get rid of him now, please. Tom, this season is a write-off. Ben, it looks like the Chelsea owners will need to spend another £300 million to steady the ship. There is a lot of this, Izzy. Do you fear for Graham Potter?
Well, I don't agree with the fan that said they'll be in the Championship.
Well, clearly no.
No, I'm just joking. There's a lot to digest, a lot. And I'm sure the board will be dissecting everything, not just today, but over the last 6 or 7 games that they've failed to win, games that they should have won. Nottingham Forest points out the most recent. But like we said, that there isn't anything from this performance, any structure, anything that I'm looking at going, yep, that's planning for the future, other than the signings that they brought in. But if they haven't got a plan, a philosophy, a way they want to play, how are these signings going to fit in, and how are they going to move forward and progress? And in the meantime, you've got egos, if you want to call them egos, at the club who aren't performing. So how do you move forward?